Good morning. My name is Sarai Hajai. Sarah with an I at the end for my first name, or AJ, A-J-A-I. Thanks for watching. This is a distressful video. I am going to be forced to commit suicide, and I'm going to explain why this is occurring emotionally in my psyche because of it. Because other people forcible rights against my rights of my identification of goods, identity instruments, and identifiers. I have no constitutional rights according to someone else's needs that supersede my rights, even though they have their own citizenship domestically, birth certificate, identification cards, state ID, driver's license, birth certificate, passport, and other identification, school identification cards or whatever. I'm being disproportionately affected by this ongoing disidentification, and I have no rights. I recently applied for an apartment. I was approved, and then there was an adverse action because I was on my right paperwork. They didn't really say that. They're not supposed to help me because of people who are falsely impersonating me under my identifiers, and I'm being disidentified by some third-party background check or law enforcement officers. I'm being disidentified as the incorrect person, and they're taking advantage of me over my human rights of my own identification because of other people forcible rights against me for whatever reason. It is distressful. I was on my way to look at an apartment, and I had to take Amtrak to get there. And this was this last Tuesday. There were about 15 or maybe 10 people on that Amtrak train car with me, and they were very rude. They were badgering me, taunting me, with subliminal message. If you're talking to someone and they want you to, they're talking about you, and you can hear it in the enigma or the atmosphere. But it was something interesting. I put on my headphones and I start singing loud to drown them out so I wouldn't hear them. The conductor on the Amtrak train did not like me. He told me I have to be silenced. They were making so much noise. They were screaming about what they think of me, moving between the seats, talking to each other loudly, and he didn't say a word. What was interesting, I had my headphones on. There was a clinical psychologist on the train that day. And it's what he said to them. Right after that, they were quiet, seated until we got off the train. Well, I don't feel I will survive because they're on my paperwork, because that's what happens according to my investigation and what happened to my son and grandson. We don't survive when someone else claims they're you and they know that they don't match. Now, I'm going to speak third party as they. They are the people who tells me things in which I don't know them. I don't know them personally. I have never been acquainted to them at all. But the people that's telling me these things are aware of what's going on with my paperwork. For what I understand what's going on, The individuals that's personating me doesn't match it at all. They don't match it at all. And my background doesn't match my paperwork. In other words, my presentation, my physical gender identity, birth sex identity, female birth sex, female gender identity, and sexual orientation doesn't match my background. In other words, it's a stigmatization that my look is not my background. I didn't acquire that education, someone else did. This is the new Jim Crow method, and I am affected by it with similar to a serial killer. The serial harassment is unbelievable. They're trying to force me into the streets because they can't get hold of my paperwork after I found out what they did and how they did it. They claim that I'm not the original. Where I'm living here now in Courtyard Village, in Naperville, Illinois, they indicated that I'm not the original. And because of this, my case was constantly denied in the courts. I'm trying to show you I did get this denial letter in the court as of October 10, 2017. Right after that, they started playing this psychological game that I am not the original person. I have the rare blood type and the flat feet. The person that when I'm out and about or at the grocery stores, some people do care. They told me the one that's personating you does not look like you at all in height or size. Similar to a Cinderella story. That Cinderella was the right person and all three of her sisters was personating her, but the shoe wouldn't fit on the other three sisters' feet. This is what's happening with my identity, but I'm having a male problem with this identity as well. I'm being denied housing opportunity. I need to have a monitor put on my heart, and they want to force me in the streets with this medical condition because I'm the original person and they can't prove it. This is what the people who have I call it habitual dislike of me. Habitual dislike of me tells me also as third party that we can't prove it, and I'm quoting, we can't prove they're you. And we can't go to court against your identity. So they had these people target me. It is a domestic problem because the domestic problem is I don't have good credit. This is what I'm hearing from the habitual dislikes of me. I went to the wrong college. I am a high school dropout. I have a drug addiction. It's endless domestically. Oh, the new one, I need a new carburetor. That justifies them forging me. Whatever the need is, it doesn't matter the needs. But this is what they tell me all the time. I have no rights. I am so pressured. I don't want to go back in the streets. I don't want to prostitute myself because they tell me they want to put their tongue in my mouth. It caused a serial sexual objectification of a coexisting as a female. Even the females are doing this. They can't put their tongue in my mouth. I refuse to suck cock. This is what's been happening to me here and at the last rental property I was at. This is domestic. You don't look like us issue. And I'm going to hurt you. We can't gang rape you. I even heard that. But somebody claimed I'm crazy. I'm making this up, and I'm not. And that's why I want to commit suicide, because I have no rights. They're denying me. I have to sleep on, I have to lay flat. I swell up, and it's even worse now. My throat hurts. And all they want to do is take I'm just a tool to people. They want to just take my identification so they can impersonate me and let me rot in the streets. I have no right. Oh, I got kids. Instead of taking their spouses to court, they're using me as a welfare program. That's what someone told me. They're using your paperwork as an economic welfare program. I lost everything, my house, my son, my grandson, with the same method, I have no rights. I literally have no rights. So they could coexist under my paperwork, even though they have their own U.S. citizen paperwork. They have it. But they'd rather be me. I'm having a gay issue with this problem, a severe gay issue. That's what the clinics, the psychologists on the train, the Amtrak train, they were all gay people. And I don't even hang around people. I don't go out. I stay to myself. Even when I was working, before they hurt me, it made me sick. I was always to myself. And they mean the people behind it, the grassroots, the advocacies, the caucuses, and others. Whatever the needs is, I'm the focal point for my paperwork to assist them in their needs. And I don't have no connections to any of these people or caucuses, grassroots, or other advocacy groups. There's thousands of them. I have no rights. I will be leaving here on the 31st of October 2017. And if I don't get this apartment, something bad's going to happen to me. I'm not safe. People accusing me of things I don't even know anything about. They claim I stole my own identity, and I did not. I have no rights. People think I'm lying about this, and I'm not. I heard here they forged my signature, and they can't prove it. And they keep telling me I keep being harassed by people unknown to me, never been acquainted, never seen before, that I'm not on my right paperwork, like I stole it, my own paperwork. And they get to live here on my paperwork because they're in need. They're in need, so I have to live in the streets because they couldn't get the apartment unless they forged my paperwork. I can't tolerate this any longer. I'm tired of the pressure over my paperwork, decades of this problem. And I'm not even gay. Not even close. They told me they stopped my relationships because of it many years ago. I found out by the gay couple that moved from above me. That they were doing this to me for decades and I didn't know it. And they were laughing on their patio. And I was always being oddly looked at, and I didn't know they were spreading these rumors that developed into a hate crime. I have no hope because they're telling me my academic attainments, my high school and college information is not mine any longer. It belongs to people like public domain. Whoever in need they can use it without my authorization, my signature. I know what I signed. But they won't tell you I signed. This is what they won't tell you. I finally, on March 29th, I filed a revocation of power of attorney and affidavits. And my first and last name in Naperville, Illinois, hereby revoke, annul, cancel, and notify in its entirety any power of attorneys and affidavits bestowed in which were not granted by me, and the assailants subscribed by fictitious names to notarize instruments of a power of attorney and affidavit that he, she, or they executed the instruments without my authorization, resulting in identity theft and false impersonation or official misconduct on forged signatures signed on unknown notarial instruments. They didn't tell you this. I never authorized it. I have copies of my signature. This have gone to government, federal government. I never gave them the authorization to have power of attorney over my rights or waive my rights or an affidavit. Now, this is what's really interesting about this whole thing about identity theft and have rights to me. Why? I have no connections. I don't even know any of these people on my paperwork. None of them. They're using my paperwork as public domain. It's a form of involuntary servitude. A new form of slavery. Identity slavery. From my investigation, I stepped out of my circumstances. Once you've been compromised, the people never survive who they compromise. None of us. And they speak of it as negligent. They claim this identification is negligent. It's actually not negligent. They knew about this. It didn't even match. The one that they claimed that was me on my paperwork don't even match. It can't be negligent. We're not even close. But the identity theft problem or disidentifying me constantly happen every day. It's every day they tell me, or someone coming in and tell me that it's hanging around my apartment complex where we walked around the building. So you see where they can stand around and tell me. that I am not I. They are me, and I stole it. With all my identification, they claim I stole it. So law enforcement has to have some type of identification profile, and they claim that I'm someone else, or they're using a third-party background check servicer, provider, and they're doing the same thing. They're misidentifying me as someone else, and they know they don't match it. And they claim it's negligent when it isn't. I had wrote numerous letters. I have federal dockets and the federal court in all levels about this problem. And I never worked for government. However, I do have a sister who had worked for government. I'm not even sure she's still working for the federal government. She worked for the Park Service, United States Park Service. And I went online, and it's public records of the employees. I found my former first name, middle initial, and last name, working for the Park Services in Colorado. I never worked for the federal government. So I knew my sister might have been impersonating me when I saw it online. I never knew she